Writing the Future, a writer's take on new publishing methods. Presented by me. Technology can be many different things to many different people. In biology, the human body is technology. In aerospace, the jet engine. But for writers in every field, technology starts with the pen and keyboard and ends with publishing. Publishing is a broad term in this context. It not only includes the physical manifestation of an author's work in book format, but any electronic data created in the process, all editing, proofreading, marketing, and so on. Here, we will focus on two different methods of publishing and how they are changing the world not just for authors of fiction, but all disciplines. Today, there are two main formats of publishing technology. Traditional publishing, where you submit a manuscript to a publishing house and they take care of printing it in various formats, basic marketing, not detailed marketing, some editing, and own some amount of rights to your work. The second format is e-publishing or self-publishing. Many companies today offer self-publishing tools that allow an author to create, edit, advertise, and sell their own products completely independently. But what's the right path? Both have their pitfalls and both have their strong points. With e-publishing, self-publishing methods heavily influence the abilities of the writer as well as increasing certain kinds of pitfalls. For example, if anyone can self-publish a book then how does that affect individual credibility down the road? Will your book be taken seriously if you self-publish because others who have followed the path have not had the proper credentials for success but were allowed to self-publish anyways? Another potential pitfall is the loaning of ebooks. Many ebook systems have loaning or borrowing options, and you can even get connected to many public libraries through your e-reader or tablet. There is no money made on those transactions, so how will that affect your income as a writer? Not everyone should self-publish. Sometimes it leads to traditional publishing routes, and sometimes it leads into oblivion, with your book dropping off the face of the earth. It might be a good book, but it's just sort of shuffled in there with all sorts of other things, and may get lost in the fray. Is self-publishing really the best path for your particular genre, writing style, and experience? Other things that may be affected by e-publishing methods include the importance of demographic research. How do you know who your book is really reaching when anybody can lie about their personal information online? Social media can also be a large issue for some self-publishers. Whereas an agent or editor with a traditional publishing route could point you in the right direction, many more traditional publishing houses are actually leaving it up to the authors themselves to promote their fare on social media outlets. If you're self-publishing, you need to be ready to do all of that yourself, including becoming your own agent, editor, proofreader, publisher, and marketer. How did these two vastly different publishing methods come about? To better understand this, we need to take a look at the Scott method. The Scott method stands for Social Construction of Technology, and its concepts are described as the following. In Scott, the developmental process of a technological artifact is described as an alternation of variation and selection. This results in a multidirectional model, in contrast with the linear models used explicitly in many innovative studies and implicitly in much history of technology. When we therefore apply the Scott method to publishing, we can see how self-publishing grew out of a need for a writer's control and ease of use to be determined by the writer themselves, providing them with a variety of formats from different companies to choose from and different control levels. But also, we see the variable of the reader in there. Things like the library applications for ebooks, the loan or borrow feature on technologies like Kindle and Nook. Let's compare these two publishing technologies side by side for a moment and see how they stack up to one another. Pros for traditional publishing methods include a wider range of publishing options and formats automatically included, some, if not all, of marketing being taken care of by your publishing house, access to proofreaders, editors, and so on, and wider distribution policies. Bookstores don't take a lot of self-published books. Pros for e-publishing include the ability to be completely self-sufficient. You decide where your book is digitally available, you won't chance being rejected by a publisher, you can decide how many copies are printed and when, and you have complete autonomy when it comes to your rights for your creative writing. And you decide where to market your work to be the most effective. Now, here are some cons. Traditional publishing houses come with a high rate of rejection. Why? Because they know what they're looking for and what they're willing to pay money for in order to get the best possible return for the company. There can be some hefty fees. you'll want to shell out for an agent, and the editors and publishing company can take out a portion of your book profits for themselves. Also, it's up to editors what happens to your book, and sometimes even if you are entitled to the rights to your own work. With e-publishing, though, you run the risk of running into credibility issues. There are no editors unless you pay an independent contractor. There's no way to track real readership because, again, anyone can lie online. And people can post fake reviews for good or for bad. There's also the borrowing problem discussed earlier, and you are completely dependent upon your own marketing abilities and distribution abilities. Worse, there can be hidden fees. Many think that e-publishing gets you around having to shell out a portion of your proceeds to a larger company, but even the self-publishing companies like Amazon's CreateSpace include a per-book fee. But perhaps one of the more understated but equally important cases against ebooks and e-publishing are the fact that they are McDonaldizing the future of the publishing industry. Much like automated doors, they work well when they're working well, but if the proverbial spring is tweaked a little too far in either direction, it can cause problems. Latour said it best in his section titled Delegation to Non-Humans. For sure, springs do the job of replacing grooms, but they play the role of a very rude, uneducated, and dumb porter. Likewise, you have to treat your e-reader well or it could malfunction on you. It needs constant charging with use. You must still manually flip through your book selections and hope that the machine saved your place at the page you were on. They're still not automated enough to fully replace the human book experience. And the same can easily be applied to the publishing process. Do you want something that many people have spent time on carefully crafting, or something that just anybody can do? But this doesn't just affect readers and writers of fiction. In fact, it can have many implications beyond the simple facade of bookstore uses. How does this affect ancient manuscripts, for example, that are more difficult to put into ebook format? How many different facets of society could the loss of paper artifacts affect in truth? More disciplines than you might think. In conclusion, here is one writer's suggestions for solutions to common e-publishing problems. For one, regulating the e-book system in general and giving the publishing houses control over self-publishing methods, instead of money-hungry corporations who aren't concerned with preserving the artistry of writing. This will allow the best of both worlds. You can self-publish with the option of taking advantage of traditional publishing houses' resources, or, at the very least, you have someone reading your work who can give feedback on how to improve your craft. By utilizing the traditional publishing houses for self-publishing police officers, it will benefit the traditional publishing methods and keep them alive, help to regulate quality, and allow a larger amount of control by the author without going to the extreme end of the spectrum where anybody can publish anything they want. Different genres of writing, medical ebooks for example, will then be more thoroughly researched and not just any quack can publish a book saying that Jell-O is a life-giving substance and you can subsist off of it. Combining traditional publishing methods with self-publishing methods could continue to improve the quality of materials going out, improve the amount of authors available in any given format, increase the amount of writers who get noticed by a big publishing company for a good idea, and ultimately benefit the craft of writing as well as the literacy level in general. This could be a good middle ground solution where traditional methods are funded in part by e-publishing methods and vice versa, so that neither is lost to this world forever.